Quick video on percents made easy. If you've always struggled with the percents, forget everything you know about them and just try to follow along. And I really will make this as easy as possible. Here I have a bar, and the entire bar is the whole thing. The whole thing is worth 100%. Now what I've done was I divided this bar into 10 pieces, which means each piece is worth 10%. And that should make sense as long as those little pieces are all the same size. So 10% times 10 is 100%. So if I take a bar, and I'm telling you that the bar is worth, let's say, 70, if I were to break that into 10 pieces, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 100% of the bar is 70. But if I took 70 and I divide by 10, I would get 7. Each little one would be worth 7. Now, they are not 7%. They are still 10% each. So 10% of 70 is 7. If we were to do the same thing with 30, and I broke 30 into 10 boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Each little box would be worth 3. But once again, each little box is 10% of the total. So 10% of 30 is 3. So what I'm hoping you're noticing is this. 10% of a number means that we're just moving the decimal place. So if we're just moving the decimal place one spot. So 10% of 80 would just be 8, because 8 times 10 is 80. 10% of 45 would be 4.5. You're just moving the decimal one spot over. Since that's true, we can also do 1%. We can also do 1% of 80. Well, we would then move the decimal over 2 spots, and now I get 0.8. I get 8 tenths. 1% of 45 would be 45 hundredths. And all we're doing now is we are moving the decimal 2 spots. And the reason why is because 1% is really 1 out of 100. So we're dividing it by 100. And if you take 45 and you divide by 100, you're going to move it over. When we were doing, this is 1. And this was 10%. And here we're really doing 1/10, which means dividing by 10. So if I want to find something like 8% of a number, let's say I want to find 8% of 50, I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing this. The first way of doing this is I could say, well, I know that 10% of 50 equals 5. And I know that 1% of 50 equals 5 tenths. I'll make that 5. Well, if I were to subtract, I would get 9% of 50 would be 4.5. And if I subtracted 1% again, I would get 8% of 50 equals 4. The other way we could do this is we could just say 8% is really equal to 0.08, and 50 times 0.08 is 4. So there's multiple ways of doing this, but really the easiest way of doing it is just realizing that 10% means move your decimal over one spot, 1% means move your decimal over 2 spots, and having an idea what the visual looks like really helps. There's actually one last thing I want to do, and I'm going to do that now. This, knowing that 10% means moving your decimal over one spot is super helpful. The 50% or 1% means moving over 2 spots, but there's also this. You should also know some benchmark fractions. 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. You should know that 25% means 1/4. 50% means 1/2. And 3/4, 75%, is 3/4. And you should really know these benchmark fractions and what they look like. So real quick, if I wanted 25% of 60, I could really just say, well, what's 60 divided by 4? And that gives me 15. If I want to know what was half of that, 50% of 60, I could just really multiply 1/2 times 60, and you get 30. And if I want to do 3/4, 75% of 60, I could just multiply 3/4 times 60. By the way, 3/4 of 60, I want to show you this real quick, what it actually looks like. What I do is I take the 60 and I break it into 4 groups. That's the denominator. So 15, 15, 15, 15. But I only care about 3 of them. Which is 45. So 3/4 of 60 equals 45. And that's kind of it. Watch this video more than once if you have to, because it is really useful, and percents aren't really that bad once you gotta get the hang of them.